There'll obviously be stuff happening.
Yeah.
But stand by Q14. And Q14, go.
More exciting. Beginning for this is the game.
There will be a...
Yeah, well, not for me, because I'm pregnant, but these guys, they can drink.
There will be crisps.
I first got involved with the Vacation Chamber Orchestra, which is for young people and set up. It's run by the same people, Jane and Zen, who run this. And I think I started that when I was 15, something like that. And that was my beginning of my sort of music education, orchestral education.
I work in export sales and chose not to pursue music, and it's just I come to this to play in an orchestra and to see the people that I've sort of known for quite a long time. I did vacation chamber orchestras like Lex when I was younger, and it's just nice to come and play.
I cancelled a few things, yeah, because he said it was good for me.
Did he? That's a good point.
Yeah, he was just like, well, anyway, it's good for you.
Yes, I mean, during the working week, I don't get the chance to play in an orchestra like this. And so any opportunity that arises, you tend to just say, oh, yes, I'll do that. I can just squeeze that in. And of course, then it goes the other way. Then you end up doing this sort of thing every weekend. It's great, though. It's wonderful.
Well, I just enjoy taking part in community music. I've played for several orchestras in the area, but I've just found St Cecilia Orchestra consistently the highest and the most friendly standard.
It's a really good orchestra. It's a really nice blend of kind of professional standard with good local amateurs as well, and a nice range of ages as well. I love music, I love playing the cello, and I like doing it to a decent standard, and it's a very good standard for probably one of the best amateur orchestras around, I would imagine.
My name is David. I'm 10 years old. I can help with my dad. I can get a flower with a lady. What is wire? She can play in a wire, right? And she can finish the second play, and I can get the flower, which is a little present, which and then Jonas helped me in my homework.
That I'm sitting in for somebody else. I played with them once before through a contact with a friend, and they invited me back to do this concert because somebody couldn't do it. So I'm not sort of like a regular member, but I'm sort of a friend of the orchestra, as it were. being a musician is very competitive. A lot of people go into it because they really love playing and they want to play, and a lot of us really enjoy teaching as well. But to keep the sort of enthusiasm alive and be able to kind of inspire your pupils, you kind of want to play yourself as well. And you know, we all lots of us went into it because we love the music that you play, and because sort of the orchestral scene, like playing professionally, say in something like the CBSO or the Northern Symphonia, is so very competitive. These are sort of more the opportunities you get if you're not somebody like who's managed to secure one of those seats, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm Zen Kelsey, or Xenophon Kelsey, the musical director, the boss, the sort of organiser and everything else of St Cecilia Orchestra, and various other things. Non-stop musical life. If you live in a rural area, the chances of having professional musicians living around the place is very, very slight, because you know they're all focused on Leeds or Newcastle or Manchester. And so to create enough opportunities so that people can actually live in the area and teachers can get an opportunity to play well and they're playing a good standard orchestra and professional players can come and play and then do master classes and workshops, it all spins off. So there's it's a big picture. It's not just one orchestra. I mean, it came to being because it was a tiny little orchestra that accompanied the cathedral choir on St Cecilia's Day, hence the name. And there were about 15 players or something, and we just did one concert a year. And then when I got roped into it, I said, well, why do we only do one concert a year? You know, why don't we get a few more players and do a few more? And then the whole thing just grew out of that. But it always grew. It was never intended to be an orchestra that played regularly, you know, rehearsed every week with the same players all the time. It's always just a case of deciding what programme we want to do, what the occasion is, whether we want to do a big concert or a small one, and then just recruiting the necessary players from as far afield or as nearby as we can, you know, and just trying to get the best players we could get to do it. With this orchestra, I suppose the overall standard of the orchestra when it's at its best, which is fantastic. You know, I mean, when we're doing a really big concert and doing something like a Mahler symphony or a Shostakovich or something like that, or when we're doing a chamber one where we've had enough rehearsal time and had all the players there and managed to get it really on edge, then that's the nicest thing, is when everybody's happy and everybody thinks they've really played well. That's the main thing.
Well, I've been working with Zen for sort of about 3 or 4 years. I first did a vacation chamber orchestra course, which is kind of aimed at students. Like this solo, I've never done a solo with orchestra before. This is the first for me, which I wouldn't normally have done unless I'd had Zen to kind of say, oh, give it a go. And yeah, he's encouraging. He's very encouraging. One of the pieces before I did for my final recital, so I did it with piano at college sort of 3-4 years ago. So it's amazing to be able to do it with the orchestra. It's such a different feel. And when I was first doing this solo, I said to Zen that there's 2 pieces, either or. And Zen was like, oh, why don't you just do both, one on each side of the thing? So one I've done before and one's completely new. Yeah, it's nice. But the whole orchestra is just, it's one of those kind of things where the more you can play the different music, the more you feel prepared to do everything else. Yeah, it's a nice kind of feel. It's a nice vibe.
Gail Bannock. Some spots are noted for water and sand, some spots are noted for scenery it's grand, some spots are noted for making you fit. There's a spot called Gail where bannocks they eat. Bannocks are made in Scotland, they say, with oatmeal or barley either way, but they're made with flour like pasties at Gail. They're made by women, it's best cooks it deal.
Well, it's been the Friends of Dales Countryside Museum's gift day, so they come and it's a way for us to say thank you to them really for all the support that they've given us over the year. So I was just demonstrating what we do with the local food project that we're running with the help of their funding. So I've given them a few tastes of things that we've made here that we've demonstrated to the visitors over the last few weeks. We made some oat cakes, which were the traditional Yorkshire Dales staple diet really, and these actually were from the Dales Countryside Museum cookbook, and when I tried them they were very like Scottish oat cakes, and I'm the sort of person that once I've made something once I like to tweak it, so I put some dried wild garlic flowers in, so they tried those, and they tried that with Swaledale ewe's milk cheese, which is a real traditional cheese from around here. That's from Swaledale, which is the next dale over, it's made in Richmond, and some Wensleydale cheese, which is made here in Hawes at the creamery. And then Eleanor's talk tonight included the poem about the bannocks.
Noted for making you fit, there's a spot called Gale where bannocks they eat. Bannocks are made in Scotland, they say, with oatmeal or barley either way. But they're made with flour like pasties at Gale. They're made by women that's best cooks at Dale. There's bannocks and bannocks as every hand knows. Some's made i' Dent and some's made i' Hars. They were all different, it's the watter they say. Best's made at Gale, it's true anyway. Some's made with currants and some's just plain. Some's thick, some's thin, they're all right as rain. Some's square, some's round, they're all macks and shaps. Some's lyle, but some are as big as cow claps.
So I'd been tipped off by Eleanor that she would be doing this poetry. So I'd again used the trusty cookbook and got the bannocks, but I'd never made bannocks before, so I didn't really know what I was aiming at. And all these old recipe books say is cooking in a moderate oven. They never tell you for how long or what you should be aiming for. So of course I knew that I was, setting myself up for a fall. And I'd used lard. It's the first time I've cooked with lard and not making a bird cake for a very long time, so that was interesting too. And then we tried some elderflower cordial, which I made earlier in the week. We had a tasting session here in the museum, and elderflower delight, which is a bit like Turkish delight but flavoured with elderflowers, which they all seem to be quite keen on, and I think they quite enjoyed.
The museum's run by the Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority, and it opened in 1979, and at that point it was very heavily supported by local people, because the majority of the collection had been established by a lady called Mary Hartley, who lived just down the road at Asquig. And she'd spent decades collecting items from sales, from farms, from craft workshops.
There is so much happening that we as the Friends simply raise money to help and apply for grants to help. Over the past we've had some amazing people come here.
We're all about sharing the stories of the people and the landscape of the Dales. That's what the museum's about. So the collection ranges from prehistoric items such as a Bronze Age spearhead right through to present day. And we try to encourage people to understand what the landscape's about, how the landscape's been formed, and to show them the tools and tell the stories about how that's happened over centuries, thousands of years. We have all sorts of, an annual events programme that we run, and that's funded through our Friends of the Museum, who've been here tonight at an event. That was a fundraising event that they held here tonight, and obviously everything that they generate through income, through different grants that they apply for, comes into the museum and helps us to offer a real range of activities and events for people, both local people and people from outside.
All those groups go on in the Dales. They're really very lively groups.
Tonight's a gift day event, which might sound a little bit strange to people, but it's a traditional event here. And every year the Friends of the Museum come along and they give us a gift, and as a thank you we put on a talk, and we have an opportunity really to thank them for all the support that they've provided over the last year, and we tell them what the different funds have been spent on, what types of activities, and then usually we have a guest speaker, who tonight is Eleanor, and was fantastic.
That was John. So that's talking about bannocks and talking about food, but while we've talked about food, I'll just give you this little bit of a snippet that I found in the research room one day when I was looking for nothing. And this is about drink. And this is an observation from the 1500s. So lead cups were used to drink ale or whisky. The combination would sometimes knock people out for a couple of days. Someone walking along the road would take them for dead and prepare them for burial. They were laid out on the kitchen table for a couple of days, and family would gather round and eat and drink and wait and see if they could wake up. Hence the custom of holding a wake. So now you know where that comes from.
Okay, I'm Nick. I'm one of the volunteer stage managers at the Joseph Rowntree Theatre. Today we are running 2 performances of a show called Stepping Out the Musical, which one of the amateur groups in York are putting on in the theatre. It's gone pretty well, so we're in between the matinee and the evening performance. Nothing went wrong in the matinee, it all went very smoothly, so we're hoping that the same will happen this evening.
My name's Mike Thompson. I'm John Hall, and I'm the director of the show that's currently on at the Rowntree Theatre, and Mike is the musical director. Stepping Out the Musical. It's based on the 1984 play. Yeah, we've been coming here since the mid-70s. Well, it's a fantastic theatre. It's, originally it was a 440-seater, which we used to fill very easily in those days. It was like traditional to support the theatre, and then it was all redone, reducing the seating down to 360.
360. 2000, year 2000, it was handed over to the amateurs of York by Nestle, and at that time a committee was set up to run it, a number of trustees, and I was asked to be chairman of that, the original chairman for taking the running of it over in 2000. It's still being run by a committee who do an absolutely fantastic job, and it's staffed by volunteers.
Good evening, how can I help you? My name's Dan. I'm the chair of trustees of the Joseph Rowntree Theatre. I also do technical work backstage. Yeah, I started in 1993 as a 15-year-old student, just for a bit of fun. And I loved it, and things just kind of evolved.
So this is really nice. It's like a big family. Everybody's all together, and you don't feel as though you're the odd one out or out like that,
Right, I sit here with a copy of the script, so my job is to make sure that the cast are all ready for the start of the show. Follow the show through. The book has all the cues in, which are all the lighting and the sound cues that need to happen. So my job when we get to the point in the script is to call over the communication system to tell the operators for the lights and the flying system that they need to do something.
I think it's about 50 years since I first came with York Light, but being a steward 30 years or something like that, I love it. I like the stage, I like the theatre. We do a Monday morning crew when we test the fire alarms and the intruder alarms and see all the lights are on. It's a lovely theatre. 1935 when Mr. Rowntree opened it.
Hi, I'm Gary Bateson, and I'm a volunteer steward here at the Rowntree Theatre. I've been doing it just about 2 years now. It's fabulous. It's great to be part of the theatre and just see people's enjoyment of shows and help them to their seats, and then talk to the cast and the orchestras, etc. It's just a really great environment. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's very much at the heart of the community. It's definitely a community theatre, and I think having been built by Rowntrees way back in the 30s, and especially for that sort of thing, I think it's retained that, and everybody that comes here gets to know each other, and you just widen your circle of friends and acquaintances, and also your experiences. So it just gives you that great feeling.
I'm one of the volunteers here, and
generally do the follow spotting up in the roof. I've been doing that since March. That's a daily thing that we have to do to get up to the follow spots. And down here we have follow spots. I do have a couple of people say, why do you work there, and stuff like that, and it's just it's I enjoy it just because like you get companies come in and they say thank you for what you do, even though it's voluntary. You know, it's so fun working with different people that come in and out of the theatre. You know, so I've learned something new. Quite a lot of the crew, well, the regular crew know each other very well. The stage managers, everyone, the cast that come in, you know, we're always out with meals for them on the night time after shows and stuff like that. Really, just backstage and stuff is just massive family. The best way to describe it.
My name's Robert Reedman, and I'm a volunteer at the Joseph Rowntree Theatre.
I'm in the wrong show.
I've been involved since it became sort of run by volunteers, so that's about 12 years. So I've been on the board for 12 years. I'm proud that the theatre's still here, and that was one reason why I'm on the board still, because obviously it's volunteer based, so you have to give up quite a bit of time, but without us the theatre wouldn't be here. And I also am involved in one of the companies that hires the theatre, and I think you need to give a bit back to actually keep it running and actually keep it here for everybody else in the community. I think it's the social factor more than anything. It's the theatre's always, in its nature, it's live, which means you always have a slightly excitable or exciting level to it, which means that there's youngsters come and train to do backstage. We have lots of the older members of the companies who've stopped performing doing front of house duties, and it keeps them involved. It's got a great community spirit to it, which is vital. So instead of staying at home every night and just watching telly, they're here doing duties, chatting, socialising, and it acts very much as a social hub.
Thank you very much. Gary, would you mind going on the wheelchair door? Absolutely. Is that all right? Have two gents for the front door?
Yeah, okay.
Lovely, thank you very much. Oh yeah, some volunteers I think have been here for 30, 40 years, and it is a very, very big part of their lives. It means a lot to them. Many of them have performed here over the years in amateur dramatic societies or dance companies, and they just like to be able to give something back to the theatre, and it provides them with a very good social life. They tend to all know each other, and yes, it's a big part of their lives, and they're giving something back to the theatre, having performed here in their youth, many of them. I think that for a visitor coming into the theatre, they're very aware that they're not going into an impersonal space. It's something that they feel matters to people who volunteer here. You'll have noticed that the stewards have certain uniform. It's not formal, but it's just a way of belonging to the theatre. We meet them and greet them. We've got disabled access, so we can welcome them to all different parts of the building. And they've always got time for a chat with the audience when they come in. It's not just a case of come in, here's your seat, and that's it. It's that they often recognise a lot of the audience as well, maybe from groups that they've been involved with in the past. And it is a family theatre, so it's got that sort of family atmosphere to it, and very, very welcoming.
It's the only theatre in York that allows volunteers to train and, you know, like be educated in technical theatre, and a lot of obviously like actors, training actors and amateur actors can come in here as well. But yeah, a lot of my experience has been in here, and that's what's led me to run my own company and be a successful freelance sound technician.
Hi, I'm Steph. I've been here since September last year. I heard about it through my brother, who also works here, and I've also gone on to help volunteer at Grand Opera House as well. So, I think that the environment's different because everybody wants to be here, where in a work environment where you get paid, not everybody always wants to be there, and you meet new people, and I just think it's really good.
Try keep the weight on the balls of your feet.
I'm Mike Letby, a volunteer for this.
This was found in a dustbin. It's a walker's log, checking speed of ships, and somebody had just dumped it, and one of the staff found it and brought it in, and cleaned it up. But yeah, it was just dumped. I can't stand it. My people throw it away.
When they're working, they'd wear a tartan muffler to stop the oilskins chafing. They never ever washed them because they were all knit on. They were knit on 5 needles. They were made with oiled wool, but they were repaired by the sleeve. Otherwise, they were covered anyway. So they wear their own town pattern for work, and that was because if a body was found washed ashore, it had a pattern from a certain town. It would be brought back to that town for identification.
We've got several things people have found and just brought in, and same as the cannonballs down there, the Aqua Club, they bring those up. The ship's wheel behind you. But we've got so much stuff, it's unbelievable. And people just bring it in. Little old ladies bring stuff in from their granddads and grandfathers and all sorts. I think there was one chap, was it 4,000 photographs from Scotland, sent them down. So people are interested in the maritime of Scarborough, so it's great.
I came up with this idea after going to old fishermen's funerals and hearing families say, Dad's got all this and I don't know what to do with it, and such a shame that everything's going to be lost and the fishing is in decline. So I just thought we should do something about it.
I'm a member of a local history society anyway, and one of the people that were on the early group with Lindy sorting out all these artefacts that they'd been donated, he asked me if I would come and stand in for him. That was about 5 years ago, and now I'm the chairman.
So we met in different places for 5 years, just wherever we could, and discussed things and started collecting things stored in our garages and attics and everywhere. And then we had the possibility of having this shop on the government shop front scheme. So we managed to get that and realised it wasn't just a shop window, there's a little bit of space in here. Very little, but at least somewhere to work, somewhere to have meetings, somewhere to start storing and showing.
It's a brilliant team of people. That's the main thing. That's what keeps you in a group. I think everybody's very different and very interesting. A lot of the fishermen from the old town are involved, and normally, as a person, I work at the university here in Scarborough, but normally I wouldn't have a chance to meet with these guys.
My husband was a fisherman for 37 years. He's also involved with the lifeboat. He's now the skipper of the pleasure boat that goes out in Scarborough. So, and his father was a fisherman, and my son's in the Royal Navy, and so there's definitely the connections to the sea. So yeah, I've been a fisherman's wife for nearly 45 years, so that's my involvement really.
So we've got other models as good as this, and if not better, and they're ready to sail. They're radio controlled, which we've had given from a lady in the West Riding, I think. And we've got all that then, but we've got nowhere to display them at the moment.
My father-in-law was really interested in the history of all sorts of Scarborough itself, and made some albums with some fabulous stories in of his wartime and naval career, of his fishing career, of his lifeboat career, and I just found them fascinating going through them and thinking, we've got to keep this going, it's got to be kept going somehow, and this is what we're doing, and we try and involve the local community as much as we can. And because I do we're all volunteers, everybody's volunteers in here, and because I do a lot of volunteer work within the community, I do get to know a lot of people. So then I can go and talk to them, and I'm not afraid to just talk to them.
So this is our sort of commemoration of the centenary of the sinking of the Titanic this year, and our volunteers have put all this information together, gathered it from all sorts of different sources. We've got the menus here of what people were eating on the last day, and it's proved a very popular exhibition.
My mother-in-law bought my husband one when we first got married. I'm not from this area, didn't know anything about them, and I put it in the washing machine. And it ended up. She didn't speak to me for a long time because they were very expensive. Now to buy these, about £250, because they're all handmade to special designs. Each jumper has its own design. That is nets, ladders, ropes, and then the Scarborough shingle pattern on the sleeve. So that one is about 60 years old.
Oh, there we go. And going digital gives the opportunity of doing things like this, doing live performances. Yeah. I think so, yeah. So it's just off the internet. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Chris Purser and I'm one of the board members at the Ritz Cinema Limited Thirsk.
I'm Mark Davies. I look after press and marketing for the Ritz.
And I'm Graham Dennison. I'm a projectionist and technical officer, maybe.
The building that we're in actually goes back to the Regency period, about 1830, when it was built as a mechanics institute. It was taken over by a gentleman called Walter Power in about 1912, which you will notice is almost exactly 100 years ago. And he started running it as a cinema. And he ran it for quite a few years. When did he die? 1934. And it's been a cinema more or less continuously ever since. About 18 years ago, the last commercial operator of the cinema decided that he wanted to retire, and Thirsk collectively decided that it really didn't want to be without a cinema. So with the help of the local town council and support from other people, we set up a volunteer group, took over the lease on the building, and we've been running it as a not-for-profit venture ever since.
My wife knew a few of the members who'd set it up in the first place. She started volunteering in the kiosk and suggested that due to my technical background I ought to look at doing a bit of projecting. And 16 years later, I think, I'm still here. So I must have liked it.
I was a regular. I used to come every Sunday with my wife, and one of the other volunteers said, "You come every week. You're bound to want to be involved," and yeah, that was us along.
One of our board members has the role of volunteer organiser, and the current person doing it was the person doing it about 15 years ago when I got involved, and he said, "You must come along and help," and I did, and I've been here ever since.
It sounds crass, but most people do it for the love of it. They like the people. A lot of the volunteers, the front house staff, they actually really enjoy working with the people that they do on an evening. They don't come and see the film necessarily. They enjoy working with that team, but overall I think most people are just proud to keep the cinema here and just like seeing the people coming and they give us so many supportive comments about why they come to the Ritz and why they return rather than going elsewhere.
I come because I enjoy it. I enjoy the people that I work with, and I enjoy the sense of satisfaction that I get from providing something that's for the benefit of the community that wouldn't otherwise be there.
Come in, put the lights on, switch everything on that's been turned off. You switch the projector on, set the house lights up. And you show a film.
Back to the Happy Weekend.
That's good, that, isn't it? Yeah. Right on the
Try to keep those knees together, yes? I've been trying to keep my knees together all my life.
Why do I do this? Because it's really rewarding. It's a really great feeling to know that you're sitting here and that the show that people have come to see and enjoy, and the people on the stage have spent months rehearsing for, and they're also having a great time doing it. So it's a really great feeling knowing that you're helping that happen, and it couldn't happen if we weren't here making it happen. Doing this, I've met lots of people that I wouldn't ordinarily have met. People in different performing groups, people who volunteer here as part of the stage crew, and obviously the members of the public that come in to see the shows. It's a really great experience, and I really enjoy doing it. Hard work, but good fun.
So, I mean, this is obviously important for us, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
It's some sort of job satisfaction, and knowing they're helping in their community or in their area or keeping something alive. In the centre, they are invaluable volunteers with their information that they've got, the skills, because we're all a wide-ranging skills, really, aren't we?
Yeah, everybody has something
everybody has
different to bring.
something different to bring.
Yeah.
So I think volunteers are just totally invaluable to us, and I think to a lot of organisations. A lot of organisations nowadays just couldn't exist without volunteers, so I think they're brilliant.
Because we help everybody. But if you go to the other theatres, they take your ticket and that's it, you're off on your own. But we're here to help.
Well, we're certainly on a list of arts that are going on, and also if you're a volunteer at this museum, you can get a little pamphlet that gives you free entry to other museums, which is really good for us.
Without this, there would be very limited venues available for theatre. I mean, you would be talking about the Theatre Royal or the Grand Opera House.
If the staff were paid, we'd be sunk. It's because we're volunteers. That's why it works.
If we didn't have the volunteers, and we were trying to run this place as it was run before the last commercial operator retired, we probably couldn't do it.
I think the volunteers, we have over 150 volunteers, and just the commitment from them, I kind of manage the trustees and share the trustees, but actually you can't do it without those 150 of the people. And the fact that they come back and they want to do it and they're enthused, and just meeting new people, the young people coming in, that want to do something different, want to find out what life's about, and they're just doing different things.
Certainly, if I go into a professional orchestra, more often than not, they'll just be bashing through something that they've played hundreds of times before, and everything will be on the nail, everything will be absolutely perfect. And you have to come in as a depth and just hit the nail on the head, and that's it. And then you don't talk, and there's no sort of smiles and jokes and chat, and you've got to, it does feel quite sort of, it is, yeah, you do just sort of sit there and get on and do the job and then leave again, and you don't get the chance to relax so much and enjoy the music and enjoy the people you're with.
That level of dedication, they want to do it, and therefore everything that's done is spot on. And the services we've had with mics has been second to none in terms of checking it and making sure our sound's good.
I did do training at college as well, but it was very theory based, so this theatre gave me the practical side as well, so I got a good balance. So important. And to make contacts and to learn who is in the industry in this area. Some people that I've employed through the company on a voluntary or freelance basis, I've found through this theatre. Quite often if I see somebody myself who I think has definitely got potential, then I'll certainly bring them on board various events that I do around York.
Yeah, everybody's obviously got a bit of a passion for being involved in the theatre, so it kind of helps everything to flow smoothly and for everybody to work well together. So yeah.
I mean, we've got quite a few elderly single people that are living at home on their own, and this is a place they can meet and chat and exchange. There's a kind of sausage roll club, isn't there? They come in on a Friday and have hot sausage rolls together,
or a cream cake or a biscuit.
And so it is, and a lot of the old fishermen and local people drop into the centre just for a chat, really.
That's why I love doing front of house, because meeting these people, it helps me as well. So even though I'm a volunteer and I'm involved in other groups, socially I get to speak to lots of people I would never meet, and it's fantastic.
We fill the cathedral when we do concerts in the cathedral. We get a good audience there. So it's the whole thing. It's giving the audience something as well. The knowledge that there's a lot of sort of local talent within the orchestra as well is important to the audience. I mean, it's a different thing to coming to hear the London Symphony Orchestra.
terms of the future of the theatre, I think we want to keep it going. We want to grow on its success. It's been around for 76 years.
We would love the old fishermen to be sat outside showing their skills, because these skills we do have 2 fishermen that will show net mending and pot making and knot doing. And
my personal ambition would be to see that we could expand the use of the premises and the equipment during the day, and we could do that by, for example, showing foreign language films to people who are studying those languages in schools.
I'd like to see it doing more concerts, that's one thing, but we need to outreach more. We need to do much more educational work. It's very difficult in this part of the country. There are a lot of schools who don't give their kids much opportunity to go to listen to concerts. For a kid to go to listen to a live concert with a live orchestra, it should be an overwhelming experience, and they don't get that. It's very rare to get that.
It may be that bringing art groups and cultural groups together and heritage groups, it could help to enhance the work that we've done recently, where artists have come in and been inspired by our collections, for example.
There are still a lot of people in the North Yorkshire area who aren't aware that we're here. They think of the 2 big theatres in York, but they're not aware that there's this little gem of a community theatre that is available, and it would be fantastic if we could welcome in small groups, whatever area of performance they're involved in.
We already do well in terms of attracting big name soloists, but obviously you can't always rely on the same people to fund, particularly in a really difficult economic climate. So what's really vital for this organisation to grow is that you have a breadth of funding, and so that we can maintain what we do and do even more concerts with big name soloists.
It's not that easy, but there's for young mothers with kids. We used, years ago, the first time I came to the cinema was Saturday morning matinees, which we don't with the matinees now. They're the full film shown at a matinee time, but there used to be a early Saturday morning 10 o'clock selection of films and things like that. And it'd be nice if there was anything like that, but it needs somebody to come in from outside and sort of get involved with that.
I'd love to see a bit bigger place than this, because the things every week we get something brought in, at least one, either a picture, an artefact, something. We're always getting something brought in, and at the moment Mark has a spare bedroom that's full, I have a garage that's full, John, our historian's got shelves and shelves full. When they come in with something a little bit large, we'll say, can you keep it till we get somewhere bigger?
We need to get more chamber music into schools, get more kids playing and understanding what can be done on musical instruments, and show them the quality of the sort of music we can produce. So there's all the educational work. There's a lot. There's a whole massive raft of proposals. The problem is finding the money. It's always finding the money to do it, because it's not cheap. It's very expensive to do these things.
It's people knowing it's here and wanting to use it, and I think the more people use it, the more successful it will be, and it'll keep the building, the fabric of the building working, and all the facilities, and improving them and making the state better than it is already.
I think some people are a bit sort of wary of classical music because they don't know a lot about it, and they think it's sort of stuffy and highbrow, and maybe it's about sort of showing people how they can get into it.
We have the very last mould of the last Yorkshire cobble. The builders finished in 2008, and he gave us the last moulds, which are far too big for this place, but they're historical because they're the very last Yorkshire cobble ever built in Scarborough. So one of the amusement people are storing that for us. He's now told us he needs somewhere else. He needs that space, so we're now searching for storage.
We need as much support as possible to get the calendar of events out and known about, so that new people come and new people tell other people how wonderful it is, because it's, as I say, there isn't a bad seat in the house.
Yeah, we get very involved with other groups, and anybody who wants to get involved with us, we would welcome, really.
Absolutely. In terms of linking with other organisations, I think we'd be very open to meet any organisations with a view to sharing ideas, sharing experiences, being open to the possibilities of networking with other organisations in the area.
You know, networking is a great thing. It's all a very important part of it, and yes, it would be good to talk to other organisations, find out how they do and why they do and what they think the way forward is.
The museum itself, we work with lots of different organisations, both voluntary and other local authority organisations.
We've just done a project with the Museums Trust here. They were doing an exhibition about old superstitions in the town, and we went and interviewed a lot of the old fishermen about their superstitions.
One very successful evening that we had was when we showed a locally produced film, A Century in Stone. He produced the film up on the Eston Hills, and that we have shown quite a number of times in conjunction with the main film. So, in the past we've run young filmmakers events, we've collaborated with local schools.
We also work with people like Settle Stories that are a voluntary group. Then we also work with people like the volunteers at Gale Mill and other voluntary groups. So where possible we try to work together to ensure that we're just maximising everything that we're doing, we're promoting each other, and hopefully some of the volunteers sort of cross over. So some might be our volunteers, but they also work with other people, and it helps we get a real transfer of knowledge, I suppose, is perhaps a good way of saying it.
I go to an art group, I sing in a choir, I go to another history group down in Middleham. There are certainly sewing circles, there are knitting circles, there are people who demonstrate knitting with the knitting sticks and that sort of thing like we have in the museum, and lots of people will belong to the same groups.
We're also involved with Coastival and Seafest, which are two big festivals in Scarborough that happen every year, and we go along, we have exhibitions there and support them in that, don't we, as well. And we took part in a big art exhibition just early this year down in the old boatyard on the harbour, and we exhibited some maritime paintings from the sort of 19th century, and in fact some of the local fishermen that do their own drawings and paintings as well. So we try and contribute and network within the town as much as we can.
We've done a sort of a limited amount of work with other artists. They're using our collections to inspire other people to get involved in art, and that's a really nice thing that's happened just recently here, but that we could do more of. So if there was the chance to develop more links between ourselves as a museum, the Friends organisation, and other cultural, whether it's voluntary or not, other organisations, then that could help to generate more activity like that.
A sculpture trail being formed in Scarborough at the moment, and the sculptor Ray Lonsdale, and he's done a couple of objects, hasn't he? A couple of sculptures for the town and for Filey, and there's a local woman who's commissioned him to do a sculpture of a couple of smugglers. So that's going to go opposite the centre here, and that's been inspired from the Maritime Heritage Centre.
For example, one lady's helping us to create a new colouring book. So, and she's doing that in a voluntary capacity. That's not something that we're paying her to do, which is wonderful for us because it's another offer for children who come into the site.
Maybe that even other groups in Yorkshire don't know we exist, and it would be lovely just to have a meeting with different groups, show them around, give them a tour of the theatre, and once people know it's here and we know that what their venue is in other parts of Yorkshire, that would be fantastic.
So a while ago we worked with a local voluntary group, photography group, who held an exhibition here, but we actually generated through that lots of information that helped our photographic collection. So we were able to gather names and look at the different landscapes and sites that we wouldn't have known what they were had they not put that exhibition on, and then brought in all of those that new audience that hadn't been here before. So that was great for them because they got a venue to show their exhibition, but it was great for us because we were actually able to enhance our collection information.
And it would be great to meet other groups who are also looking after listed buildings to see how it can share advantages in raising funds to maintain the actual style, in using the craftsmen who know the right materials to use.
It would be lovely if people came and had a look at the theatre. They can either come and see a production. As PR director, I'd be more than delighted to show people around, see what facilities we do have here, see if we can share ideas.
We'll give them screen time. We'll give them screen time to show it, and we'll be absolutely delighted to do so.
Well, we've got tons of
old films,
recordings. How I actually started getting involved with this, the thing I like most is interviewing the old people and getting their stories.
Other groups can use it for all sorts of other reasons, just conferences, meetings. It's here, available for the public to use.
Obviously music and dance goes, there are plenty of opportunities where you could maybe have a weekend where you'd have a concert and maybe a play or a dance.
A mixed media show with live actors in front of the screen and something being projected on the screen behind them, then that's another thing we can look at doing. Just give us a bit of notice and talk to us, and we have to say, the more the merrier. It's here.
We don't always need to do concerts in concert halls. Well, we don't anyway. We use churches, and I don't see a great difference between using a church. The Cathedral in Ritten's a wonderful place to play in for some types of music, but not for others. And this is a nice little church. But we could go and play in the Railway Museum in York. We could go and play. I can remember we've been busking at Gromont Station on the North York Moors Railway. There are loads of things we can do.
Local artists could come and exhibit in the Maritime Centre their work, and a lot of museums do that now, as you say, to bring a change so that you don't see the same objects and the same history every time.
The theatre can be used for a whole host of different events, and as I say, daytime events are possible.
If you can find the opportunity to do it and create the opportunity to do it, we can do it. Let's get on with it, let's do it.
Well, I'm the one who's had an involvement in Celebrate North Yorkshire on the basis on the sort of representing the cinema there, and I think it's a very useful organisation, and it deserves more support from organisations than it gets. The information you get from it, from the training sessions that they run and the information sessions that they run, is usually very useful. The other useful aspect of it, again, it will be enhanced if more people supported it, is the fact that you're rubbing shoulders with people who are running arts organisations of a similar, or in some instances of a different kind, but they're all facing similar problems.
We need organisations like Celebrate North Yorkshire and anything that is going to help promote and develop networks and bring people together. It's very important that we do that.
I think all I'd like to say is keep on doing what you're doing now. Enabling people to come together from various voluntary arts organisations, talk through their problems, talk through their opportunities, disseminate expertise, and having an organisation like Celebrate North Yorkshire would enable you to keep people up to speed on that one and keep their feet on the ground as far as that's concerned, and that's very valuable.